hello to my fire signs, Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. This is your horoscope for the full moon in Libra, happening on April the 6th. I think I got there just in the nick of time. You will find the timestamps for your individual readings listed below. G'day Aries, how you doing? I apologise for being so late with these horoscopes. I think that, we could definitely blame the astrology. We could definitely blame the planetary movement, but I don't think that that's a healthy thing to do. I think the way that I'm learning this stuff and the way that I'm really enveloping it into my life is to work with it rather than against it. It's been a hideous news stream. There's been a Rolodex of such horror and pain and anguish and also ignorance and arrogance that we've had to put up with just over the last 2 weeks. I think I started this lunar cycle, this zodiac year with a bravery and with a commitment to things getting better and things brightening up. And we can still do that. But I think there's no use in resisting the ebb and the flow. And there's no use spiritually bypassing to the point where you don't feel anything or you rise above or you love and light. All of that kind of stuff is not helpful, especially when we're dealing with a lunation such as this one. So I've made this little chart here. And I wanted to maybe explain it to you while looking at it. This is the chart for this particular lunation. So this is a map of the stratosphere for Sunday the 6th of April at 2:37 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So you can see the sun is still here in Aries, beautiful. We're still enjoying Aries season. We're still getting ourselves all involved and wrapped up with your philosophy. But the moon is over here in Libra at 16 degrees, so an exact opposition. So you can see how that full moon takes place. Now, the way that I read these charts is I look at the decans. So you can see these little dots here that I've drawn on the chart. They break up the 360 degrees into 10-degree points. So there's 3 wedges to each sign. And there's a tarot card that can be closely aligned or a hot suggestion to work with whenever these points of the zodiac get illuminated. And so this full moon in Libra, this is our card to work with. The 3 of Swords. Now, I don't really have to explain this image to you for you to understand what it means, right? Picture paints 1,000 words, and that's what tarot is beautiful for, because we can look at this and we can start to talk. We can start to examine and have a conversation about it. So the sun here in Aries, we're midway through the season, and it has just formed a conjunction with this little key shape here, which is the asteroid Chiron. And we've talked a lot about Chiron in my readings. I think that's a really helpful point to have a look at. This asteroid represents the mythology of Chiron the centaur. So in Greek mythology, Chiron was not like the other centaurs. The other centaurs had a reputation for being lascivious and animalistic and quite aggressive and arrogant. But Chiron was a child of the gods, and they had eternal life. And they decided to put their long time here to good use. And so they learned herbalism. They learned how to use their medicine from the land. They were also a great teacher and a sage. Folks would come to Chiron for soothing words, for counsel. And the mythology goes that one day Chiron was training Hercules how to shoot arrows. And there was a misfire, and Hercules shot Chiron with a poison arrow. And Chiron was mortally wounded, except for their immortality. They couldn't die. They couldn't move past the point of pain. This wound was really, really deep. And so they spent the rest of their time trying to salve, trying to heal, all the while healing others. In astrology, this asteroid that was only discovered in 1977 was given the name Chiron, and then if you follow astrology, you have to believe with all your might that nothing is by chance, that this rock, this floating thing in the stratosphere, has a relationship to us. And one of the ways to relate it to us is by going back and by learning and by thinking about the archetype. And so in astrology, this little key is almost the key to open the door to some of our more unconscious wounding, parts of us that are difficult for us to surmount by ourselves. And this is where your chart comes into a beautiful story, and we can look at this card and fill it in. Libra is your 7th house, Aries. This is the house of relationships. This is the house of our nearest and dearest, our beloveds. And so a full moon in this house would always be a time for you to show gratitude, to release how you're feeling to people that you love, to tell them perhaps, to appreciate them, to show it to them, and also to say goodbye, particularly when there's a lunation in the 2nd decan. This is when this card shows up. Now, in tarot, the swords, as violent and as painful as they appear, are related to our thoughts. They're related to our brain, the way that we think, the way that we remember. And so perhaps at this full moon, there are memories that you're experiencing that are perhaps ticking over in your mind. You're sort of ruminating on them. And what we need to do is to find a way to take these swords out of our heart and to allow this to flow, to allow the water of our emotions to flow. It might be a nice moon for you to have a big cry at, Aries. You probably want to do that in private, but maybe you don't. Maybe you want to do it in public. Maybe this is the lunation for you to be vulnerable and to trust the support systems that you have around you. Chiron is the biggest teacher for us, that we don't have to do everything by ourselves. I know that Aries, you'd much prefer to have it covered and to come up with the solution yourself, and to, I'll be right, don't worry about me. But I reckon that this conjunction, this sun is warming up Chiron. They're kind of enveloping one another. There's an extra emphasis. Wherever the sun is, we know there's extra light, isn't there? There's extra visibility. So in this unconscious wounding of yours, and look, it may have been brought up by some of the crap that we've had to read or some of the injustice that we've had to witness. Another card that could come into play here is the Justice card. This is Libra energy. In the major secrets of the tarot, Libra is the Justice card, and it's actually my responsibility to figure out why this year. This is one of my major guides. I had a beautiful reading with my tarot mentor, and Justice was sitting right at the center. And it's one of those cards that you sort of, on face value, you're like, oh yeah, fair enough, the law, right relationship, equality, all of that kind of thing. But it's deeper still. The lessons that Libra has for us, particularly you, Aries, because there is that beautiful opposition. Another way to look at astrology is that what is opposite us directly allows for that figure eight to start allows for that figure eight to start to appear. We've got a lot to learn from whatever sign is opposite us in the zodiac. Same, but different. Cardinal fire, cardinal air. Magic, intellect. Libras are very smart. They're very caring and kind and lovely as well. They have a great eye for where they can be helpful. So think about your relationships, Aries. Think about the people that you love or have loved. And I wonder if this is the moon for you to recognize that this card is difficult, but it's also really helpful. And it can't be ignored. You can try and tuck it away, but it just doesn't work out like that. I want to just pull one card for you, I think, Aries. I'm going to put this Three of Swords here. This is our moon. I'm also going to bring into the reading for us the Three of Wands, okay? This is our sun. So in this moment of reflection, in this moment of vulnerability, we remember that the sun is illuminating this. The sun is in great support here. Jupiter is there too. This little squiggly line here is our planet Jupiter, which is the expansive, majestic, helpful, optimistic planet. So there's a huge glowing emphasis here in your first house of this moon. And the tarot card for 16 degrees, or the second decan, the second wedge, which all of these planets are involved in, 15, 16, 20, that's all in the second decan. That's the Three of Wands. So we're still working on our magic. We're still building our empire, our empire of the sun. This doesn't take away from this. This can help us to look at this. So what I want to do is just pull one more card, and I want to see how we can bridge this gap. Because you can see those two cards are so opposite in their feeling, aren't they? I was really down on myself this fortnight, which is such a shame because I was on such a good wicket. I tell you what, Aries, I've been really focused, really hitting my stride, really being a bit of an Aries myself in relationship to my value system and my self-worth. And we mustn't discount the effects of the reality of the polarity of life right now, especially if you come from a marginalized group or if you have loved ones that do. It brings up all manner of feelings of inadequacy and of guilt and shame. Shame for being oneself, and you as an Aries just wouldn't stand for that. But you know, I know that you feel it sometimes. Maybe at these sorts of lunations, at these sorts of moons you do. You can sit with the news, we can absorb it, we can feel the triggers, and then we can look at the stars. We can ask Tarot how we can build ourselves up again. You're not a bad person, Aries, you're actually quite marvelous. And you think in a way that is very specific to you alone. Your ideas are revolutionary. Your ideas are one step ahead of the game. So, and that's a beautiful card for us to bridge. We've got to mix and meld, like the witch that you are, our magical parts, our passion, our ferocity. You know, it might be one of your reactions to things that are being reported on and talked about right now. It might be anger, it might be fury, and that's all right. You can see down here, Mars, your guiding light, is in Cancer. So Cancer is, again, another cardinal sign, cardinal emotion. This Temperance card is asking us to meld our passion with our emotion. The vulnerable parts of you are just as mighty and just as vibrant and strong as your impressive qualities, your confident attributes. And so the Temperance angel arrives to us and says, you don't have to do one or the other. It's not about shelving this or shelving that. We definitely can't shelve our emotions when we're triggered like this. They swell up through our body and we can feel them, and sometimes they feel red, they feel hot. And they've got to give somehow. Sometimes they can come out they can express themselves in a way that's maybe not so honourable to the truer emotion. If we dig below and allow this heat to cool a bit, down into the sort of cooler depths of the blue of Cancer, we can recognize that the vulnerability, the sadness, the emotion, it's just as powerful as that red, as that fire. And so this angel here is saying you can do both, and you can express yourself through both. Mix them like a witch. Try and mix fire and water. It's difficult to do, but I think that you've got the stuff to do it, Aries. I really do. I adore you, my darling. I hope that this horoscope was okay. I'm going to be right back with you in 2 weeks, maybe 1 week actually. I'm going to put the fire in my belly again because we've got a lot to talk about at the next lunation, which is an eclipse, and it's right in Aries. You can see this horseshoe shape here is our north node. And so by the time we get to the next lunation, the sun will be entering into Taurus, but the moon will meet up with it just at this last little bit of Aries. So it's the third chapter of this 3-part series, I suppose. Maybe listen back to the Aries horoscope that I did 2 weeks ago, and that can be like a nice pep talk. Allow this full moon in Libra to hit where it needs to hit, and then we'll be back and we'll talk about the eclipse in Aries too. I love you, darling. Head over to umaruby.com and get your birth chart read by me. It's will look something like this, but obviously all of these planets will be imprinted the moment that you were born. We can talk all about your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. I love you very much, my darling. You take it easy. I'll speak to you in 2 weeks for the solar or hybrid solar eclipse in Aries. Ta-da. Hello Leo, how you doing? This is your horoscope for the Libra full moon on Thursday the 6th of April at 2:37 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Ooh, golly. I apologise for my tardiness. I really have gone down a rabbit hole the last couple of weeks, and I've been healing and tending to myself and giving myself what I need in order to sit in it, feel it, and learn from it. There's been a lot of stuff that has been presenting itself in our conscious awareness as human citizens. We read the news and we recognize that the polarity of our current times is causing some great heartache and great problems. And it's up to us to come back to a space where we also recognize that it's kind of our job to bring that polarity back together. That's what Libra likes to do. Libra is the sign that chooses the way that lies between the great two lines of force. They pick up that connective tissue between that and the other, us and them, and they remind everyone that that line is really blurred. When I look at this full moon, and I count the decans of the zodiac, as you can see, I've written them all down here in little white dots around this drawing. There's 360 degrees in a circle, any circle. And in the zodiac, each sign holds court over 90 degrees of that circle. The decans are number 1, number 2, and number 3, 10-degree wedges of the pie. This full moon here in Libra, with the sun over in Aries, is holding court over the second decan of the zodiac. And the tarot card that speaks to this is the Three of Swords. And so we don't have to try and analyze this image so much, do we? It's quite visceral, we can feel it. Picture paints 1,000 words. And so when I look at this chart for you, Libra holds court over your third house, which is our local neighborhood and our access to folk magic. Lessons that we learn via conversation rather than via books, rather than via academic ideology. There's a great deal of healing that can happen here in the third house. This is what I like to see when I look and think of visions of soothsayers and of witches and of diviners. It's private. And in old days, it was kind of illicit. Not so anymore. As we grow and as we learn and as we love one another, we realize all of those lessons that our ancestors were trying to give forward, folks that could see images, see visions, hear sounds. They only professed them because they were trying to help, they were trying to heal. This is what the third house is all about. And so you can see the sun here is in your ninth, which is academic. You know, this is where we really buckle down and learn the lessons. It's where we prepare ourselves to publish what it is that we have studied for a long time, what we know. And so this is really supportive. Jupiter is here and Chiron is here. The wounded healer, the fairy godmother, the brightness of the sun. There's a warmth and a cohesion that's shining down onto the third house. So I want to ask you a couple of questions, Leo. I wonder if you're needing to unpick some of these stories. In tarot, the swords represent our thoughts, don't they? They're sharp and they're cutting. They can be thoughts, they can also be memories. Perhaps they're unconscious memories. Perhaps they're stories that were told to you when you were younger through your relationship to religious practice, which can be represented by the ninth. And perhaps they've embedded themselves into you in a way that has you feeling guilt for your ability. Now, you don't have to read tarot and you don't have to read astrology to be a witch in my book. That's for damned sure. There are thousands of different ways that we use our essence to heal other folks, to show them themselves, to hold up the mirror through our body, through our ideology, through our voice, our written work. And sometimes it can be really difficult to continually endure the hate and the violence in speech and otherwise against us. And it can almost turn it into our mission statement. You call me this, then well, I am that. Look at me go. What a heathen. What a harpy. And I love that reclamation of these terms. I love the pride that we can wear as a mantle over ourselves as we move through this period of time. The witches re-enter the space. They stand up for themselves and for other people. They say, I don't believe in damnation. Your words have no effect over me. Sometimes the words stick. And we try and bury them. And we try and try and try to avoid this card as much as we can. But I really want you to work with this one at this moon, Leo. I really want you to maybe name these swords and try and find a way to gently remove them. Your abilities are nothing to be ashamed of. Your sight, your visions, the messages that you receive when coming from love and hope and understanding are nothing to be ashamed of. You're not a slut. You're not a harpy. You're not disgusting. You're not a faggot. Or maybe you are. And you're trying to find the ways to reclaim that language, that hate speech. When I look at this card, I almost see we can't. This can't be a consistent state of being. For a healthy heart, we've got to find a way to remove some of this. And we know we can trust that as the zodiac moves around, as we move around this circle, another trip around the dial, we'll come across this card again, don't you worry. There's a reclamation with this card, absolutely. There's also a continual I'm going to build a bridge, I think, Leo. I'm going to build a bridge. Because the words are difficult to say as much as I know them. But I also know what this feels like. And I know what this feels like to wear as a consistent state. To visualize that this is how your heart looks like all the time. That's maddening, and that's impossible, and it's kind of not fair. We can take these memories and put them where they're needed. Put them in their place. This is not what you deserve, Leo. The bridge that I wanted to build is between the moon right now and the sun right now. So the Three of Wands is 16 degrees, and also it's the second decan of Aries. So Jupiter, Chiron, and the sun are all up here in the Three of Wands. And look at this beautiful magic maker. This is the philosophy that I want to know about. This is the person I want to sit in front of and have them see me for who I really am. For them to witness me. So how can we bear witness to this? Who's going to help us? Who's going to be kind to us, Leo, at this moon? Let's have a look. Let's see. I've got the Six of Wands. Celebrate yourself, babe. Bring it all out in the open at this moon. Commune. Ritualize this moment. Bare your soul. Bare your broken heart. Allow it some air. Show it. Scream, yell, light a fire, cry, laugh. If you can be with other folks, if you can join hands, And if you can call in the power of this moon together, then I really recommend that you do. If it's difficult for you and the third house has you feeling isolated and has you feeling that you need to hide, at this lunation, at this moon, I wish for you to realize that you're being witnessed, that there's a community for you, and it might take you a little longer to find it, but wherever you go, you're not alone, my darling. You bear this scar for all of us, and you continually, time and time and time again, show it. Come back to the signification of what this really means for you. Come back to what was that, what was that, what was that, what was said, what happened. Get those swords out. Allow all of this to flow. Be clear in your intention at this moon, Leo. Be kind to yourself and be a wild animal. No fear, no shame. Look, trust it. The visions that you have, the message that you're giving, it comes from the most honest space. It's hard to contain and prone for misrepresentation or misunderstanding in something so academic as the ninth house, something so official. If you're creating magic in public space, that's going to be met with all manner of different interpretations. But you know, at the center of it, you know what you're doing. I want you to believe this. I want you to celebrate yourself. Be public about it. Come together and cry. I love you, Leo. You take good care. Be wild. Be proud. Be visible. And I'll speak to you maybe in 2 weeks. I'll see if I can catch myself up and get myself back into a healthier rhythm with my work. And we're going to talk about the solar eclipse in Aries. And we're going to prepare ourselves for the unexpected. All my love to you, my darling. Until then, bye. G'day Sagittarius, how you doing? Welcome to your horoscope for the Libra full moon happening on the 6th of April at 2:37 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me, and I do apologize for my tardiness. Hopefully these will be published in time for you to listen to before the full moon. But you can also listen to this after the fact as well, can't you? You can reflect. Perhaps it can help you in your full moon journaling, however it is that you celebrate these lunations. 2 weeks, everything seems to shift and change, doesn't it? Everything stays the same, but is very different. I try not to sort of get bogged down in the specificity of these changes, but hopefully these horoscopes are providing you with some comfort and some understanding. I think that this one packs a bit of a punch, and if you know tarot very well, then it'll soon reveal itself as to why. But what I feel for you right now, Sagittarius, is that Aries season is bringing with it some great opportunity for you to express yourself. As we spoke about last horoscope, there's an emphasis here in Aries. Whenever it's Aries season, it's your sort of time to get into the studio and get into the record, improvise, get messy. And so the sun is here in Aries in conjunction with Jupiter, a couple of degrees away, and also with Chiron, our wounded healer that I speak so much about in these readings. There's a lovely base here in your chart of warmth and of light and of optimism, of help. The moon is in direct opposition with the sun, so we've got our full moon happening at 16 degrees of Aries and 16 degrees of Libra. And so this lunation is lighting up your 11th house, which is where we come to think about the human experience, where we find our community and where we relate to other folks as human beings. And I can understand that right now that house might be really painful. I think that that sort of stopped me in my tracks these past couple of weeks. I was onto a really great wicket. And I think that I've been feeling very confident and energized by the astrology, and I've been able to really fit into the rhythm of the sky. And then I read the news, and I was floored, and I was reminded of hatred and violence and oppression and the language of polarity that's sort of growing as the moments go by. As a human species, it does feel like it's us and them right now. And that can be really scary when you're the them. So much language of cruelty can kind of have us dissociate, can kind of have us want to be shut in, to separate ourselves, to protect us. And somewhere unconsciously, our brain does that to our body. Our brain, in our day-to-day waking life, is hypersensitive to triggers that might put us in danger. And so we keep to ourselves. We try not to think about humanity at large. We try not to think about the human species, or we start to use language that's very judgmental about us as an organism. But this full moon in Libra, as much as the light and the warmth and the encouragement is in your 5th house, is urging you and helping you express yourself, helping you find the words, the moon is lighting up the shadow side of this. You can see that beautiful polarity between Libra and Aries, and in fact how much they have to influence one another. That Libra strives to find equity, and Aries longs to present themselves. We need, for our sense of self and our sense of belonging, we need both. We can't solely think about the other until we're disappearing, until we're a shadow of who we used to be. We can't think about ourselves so selfishly that our blinders are on to the plight of other people. If you can see here these little points around the zodiac that I've marked, it shows that there are 360 degrees in a circle. Each sign is home to 90 degrees of that circle, and there are also 3 decans to each sign, 3 wedges. The moon sits right in the center of the 2nd decan. The tarot card that speaks to the 2nd decan of Libra is the 3 of Swords. And so all of that conversation that we've had so far about hate and violence and oppression and pain and othering is really played out in this card. We can see these swords as thoughts. We can see the worry that we hold for humanity itself, for the human species. We can see the pain from our own lives and our own experience when we were othered, when we were told that we were separate from the group, when we were told that we weren't good enough, or that we were ugly, or that we were a sinner, or that we were evil, or that we were unworthy of love. This is such a powerful image, and it's a really beautiful one to work with at this time, because it reminds us that the swords, as sharp as they are and as violent as they are, In the tarot, the swords represent our thoughts, our mind, our memories. And so if we can move these swords, hopefully remove them from our center, our beating heart, if we can release these thoughts, then hopefully some of this emotional response will start to flow. And rather than think to ourselves, oh, the human race is doomed, we're all fucked, we're disgusting, yuck, we're a scourge, we're a bacteria on the surface of the earth, all of those horrible things that we can indeed not only hear, but that think about human beings. That discounts all of the beauty of our expression, which is your fifth house. Those thoughts discount all of the importance and the richness and the value of your self-expression, your creativity, your artwork, your attempt at translating the emotion of love, the emotion of kindness. And so at this full moon, as tricky as this card is to work with, I think that you're in great support here in your fifth house of self-expression. I think that there's something really, you're being guarded. You can see the sun's being guarded by these two planets here. Tell people how you feel right now. Your honest truth. Tell them what you see and tell them the solution. How do you find the solution? Tell them that you love them. Tell them that humanity is a beautiful thing when you look into the eyes of a child or of an elder, and you can see their experience flash across their eyes. You can see that they're coming to a point of real understanding of what life means. And the simple comfort of keeping company or making dinner or showing up is a beautiful form of self-expression in order to comfort the other. Have a think about what social groups or what communities in life that you can witness right now that need an extra special guiding hand. Who is vulnerable in this war of the minds, these violent words? Who is vulnerable and who is hurting, and who needs active support around them? Who can you witness in your life that is experiencing this Three of Swords to the nth degree because they're told simply by what group they belong to, by their gender, their sexuality, their race, their economic status? Who is being told right now that they don't mean very much, or that they're in fact evil or disgusting? And who can you witness, and through your self-expression can you lift up, and you can use that light of the sun to shine on their pain as a beautiful blanket of healing and comfort and kindness? The Three of Swords speaks to the moon. The Three of Wands speaks to the sun. Look at this beautiful angel of divination. Look at this crystal ball. Look at this magic in action. These beautiful handmade magical tools providing a protective force around this person. They can speak from a place of dignity. They can speak from a place of authority, I might say as well. If you have access to spirit, if you talk to them through your cards, through your charts, through your drawings, your paintings, your poetry, however it is that you commune with spirit, with God, with love itself, feel that you're protected by these magical tools, and feel that you have the authority to speak in support of those that are hurting. And you might not even belong to those groups. You can translate the pain of othering, the pain of separatism, to your own experience of times when you felt like that. And by active, open, audible expressions of support for those that are suffering right now, or those that have been marginalized, those that have been told time and again that their identity is invalid, that it doesn't exist, or in fact it's harmful. And you know that that's not the case. Use your magic, use your creativity, your fifth house, your self-expression, and beam that message to your community. Community doesn't separate us. Feels like it does. Feels like if you don't belong to this or that, or you don't, that you're outside of that. I'd like to think that as a human species, that's not the case. I'm going to pull one more card, Sagittarius. I'm going to try and find a bridge that will connect your individual point of expression to the greater human collective, to those that are suffering at this time, to those that need a little kindness. What is the bridge for us, please, Spirit? Who can guide us? Who can guide us to say the right thing? And you know, even if you say the wrong thing, say something. Silence is a killer. If we stand idly by and ignore the pain, that's possibly even more damaging than potentially saying the wrong thing or not getting the current language right. That's what language is for. It's to be learned. And you're not wrong for misspeaking or not saying the right term. If your essence, your expression is that of love and that of connectivity, then you're doing the right thing. And look at our bridge. Pisces, the Hanged One. That moment of being stopped in your tracks, that moment of feeling like you have nothing to offer, you can't give it, you don't know what to say, you don't know what your power holds. You feel powerless in the face of such oppression, such violence, such hurt, such pain. You know, Sagittarius. You know from the bottom of your soul that you're acting from love and kindness and warmth, and that your opinion matters, and that your vantage point, what you're conjuring in your magical work right now, how you're expressing yourself, has a great deal of opportunity to help other people that are suffering. You know what it feels like to be marginalized. You know what it feels like to be separate from other folks. You know what it feels like to be told that you're wrong or lesser. And you know that that's not true. Because when you look at other folks that that's being said of, you don't believe it for a moment. You recognize, and you actually have authority here. I'd like you to pull rank. I'm looking at this crystal ball here. What do you see in that ball, Sagittarius? What do you know to be true that can inform our community? That's one of the biggest salving balms that you can provide somebody else, is witnessing them, telling them that you believe them, you believe who they are, you believe that they are kind and good and gentle and worthy of love, and that they have as much right to walk these streets at night, to move through this world without fear of violence. So express that. In your fifth house, express that. Contact Spirit. They'll tell you what to do. That's your reading, my lovely Sagittarius. I adore you. You take it easy, and we're going to speak as soon as I am able to reroute my timeline, my schedule, and I'm going to prepare you for the solar eclipse happening just on the cusp here of Aries and Taurus. Hours away, just as the sun leaves Aries and enters Taurus, we have an eclipse. And so it's going to be affecting your fifth house. It's going to be affecting your self-expression. Make it count. Much love to you, my darling. Take care.